Hello! Today I decided I was going to make a video about my Arturia Minibrute 2. I've had it for a little while and I've been playing around with it and having some fun with it. Decided I'd share a little bit of what I've learned along the way. So I got this patch made that I've been kind of playing around with the last couple of days. It's a lot of fun. You can do a lot of stuff with it, but it's definitely weird. The way the filters work and everything. And we can get into that. There's a whole bunch of mess there, but I don't really want to get into it. This one's kind of complicated, and this was more like a just kind of trying stuff to see what works. So I'm going to go back to the default, or not default, but like nothing's happening, and then we can kind of start from scratch, right? So there's lots of videos on the Minibrute out there. There's lots of explanations for how things work and how everything happens. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of just go through how I actually use this thing. So 9 out of 10 times whenever I'm like, I need a new sound, or, you know, I don't usually start with what I have and then modify it. I like to start from the beginning. Now this is actually at its core, a pretty basic sound altogether. So what I'll do is I'll flatten out the ADSRs, the envelopes. I'll put the filter back to basically null. Attenuators all the way down, global tune back to about the 12 o'clock position. Turn that off. No glide, no pulse in the middle. Basically, I just turn everything, all the effects and everything off, so you just have the two oscillators, and then you can kind of figure out. I don't mess with the LFOs because they don't really matter until you go to use them anyway. So, starting off here, we got nothing, right? So we need to. Well, first of all, it needs to be on gate once. Okay, so now we're playing, but we still got nothing because the filter, right? So I'm going to start recording over here now so we can actually. Okay, so all right, now we got that out of the way. So now we got sound, right? Okay, so let's leave that filter all the way open so we can actually see what's going on and hear what's going on. All right, so right now we have just a saw wave, just a regular saw wave, right? So there's VCO1, there's VCO2. They're not the same, right? Even if I make them both a saw wave, not the same. So you got to tune them, right? Now, I like to tune my synth by ear. Well, most of the time anyway. So I like to tune the oscillators together by ear, and then I'll tune the whole thing overall. If it's a simple enough sound that a tuner in the box will catch what's going on, I'll use that and just adjust my global tune as necessary. More often than not, what I end up doing later is I'll just record it in, whatever, and then if it's pitched wrong, then I just adjust it later. Because sometimes I can add some character to sound. Sometimes it doesn't, though. But for right now, for today, we're going to do something very simple. So for today, I am going to tune my synth. So if you give me one second. Oops. So right now we're coming up almost to C sharp. Now we could do this individually, one oscillator at a time. So now I have just the oscillator 1 playing. And there's C for Os1. And so VCO2 is a little bit higher. So we'll just try to... These potentiometers are super touchy, so you can literally, like, you know what I mean? Like, they just touch them. Now they are very... there's a lot of friction, not a lot of friction, but it's a good feeling potentiometer, but it's very at the all range. It's very tight. I could use the fine range, but the difference between the fine and the all range for some reason is like the center of the all range would be here, and then fine is actually like up just a little bit. So it's not. I'd have to go and mess with it some more. So anyway, that's how I get the two oscillators to be the same pitch. And now they are both That's about a C2. So if we go up a few octaves, yep, still pretty good. All right, good. So I know that I got a tuning that's, you know, going to work. So the next thing I'll do is kind of decide what do I want to actually do with this. Now, I currently want just a nice, normal, like a square pluck. So we're just going to start with that just because I just want to experiment with it a little bit, and then I'll go back through and pull the audio out and sample it and do whatever I want to do with it. But okay, so obviously if I want a square wave, it's not going to work to use a triangle or saw wave. So let's switch both of these to square. Sounds pretty good. Now if we... I can do some fun stuff with that filter, but I need to make it do it on its own so I don't have to keep turning that knob. So I'm going to turn the FM up to the frequency modulation into the cutoff. It's actually technically not frequency modulation, it's just kind of modulating how much the ADSR envelope affects the filter. So if we turn that all the way down, as we turn our decay up, it starts to it takes longer for the filter to sweep off or sweep closed. Right? So we can put a little bit of that in there. I don't want it to close completely. So I'm just bringing this up until I can kind of hear it after I've held it. Yeah, that's pretty good. Now I haven't used the AD envelope here, so it's literally just a gate on and off. So the filter is doing the only thing that's bringing any kind of leveling up and down. Which that sounds pretty good already. So I'm gonna add just a little bit of resonance. Put a little bit of kind of like a little bit of donk into it, right? Now the resonance comes from the RM, which is fed by LFO1. So if we slow this down, we'll get a more consistent sort of a resonance coming through that filter. We could also set it to free and then turn it all the way down, and then it's basically not doing anything, but it will over time eventually swing back, and then it'll... But the effect that it makes on the sound is very, very slight. So I'm just going to put filter 2 or LFO 2 back to how I usually have it anyway. Okay, so that's pretty good. Not bad, not bad. We kind of want to make it a little more plucky though, right? So how do we do that? Well, let me see. If I take patch bay is a little dusty here. Let's see. If I take, I'm going to take the output from the and it's right there and I can't read it. Envelope. Oh my God, total brain fart. So I'm going to take the output from the AD, take that and put that up into the linear FM. Let's see what that sounds like. Now you may notice as I adjust this slider, it's affecting the attack of the entire sound. That's because the AD envelope is internally routed to affect the amplitude of the sound. So if I want to bypass that, all I have to do is take the old patch cable, shove it into the amplitude modulation, and now it's pulling amplitude modulation from nowhere. So it's literally just a on-off signal. But now we ain't getting anything, but we need something. So what do? Well, there's a couple ways to do that. The way I'm gonna do it, let's see, let's just take it from the ADSR. Actually, hold on, what am I doing? So now we can affect the frequency modulation with the AD envelope, the regular, attenuator envelope. It's just an attack and delay. It's kind of and then we are affecting the actual volume, the amplitude of the sound via the ADSR envelope, right? But we are also affecting the cutoff of the filter with the same envelope, where we can adjust how much of this is affecting that, using that the frequency modulator for the cutoff frequency modulation knob. Wrong button. And that right there is why I don't get too picky about where the tuning on the oscillators is too much. Because once you start doing stuff like that, like, you know, putting frequency modulation on an envelope, it affects the sound. So now the oscillators, oh, which by the way, any frequency modulation automatically goes from VCO 2 to VCO 1. So 1 will be modulated by 2 unless otherwise noted by the patch bay. So this is going into the linear FM, which I forget the actual difference between FM and linear FM. Doesn't matter. We're looking for a sound, not the technicalities behind it all. Look it up. But anyway, if I leave both of these oscillators the same pitch, or close to the same pitch, once I frequency modulate it, it goes at, and maybe I don't want that. And in this case, I don't. That's closer to like a fifth. That's right on, but see how springy it is? It's like boing. You know, it's kind of cool, but you know what we could do to make this a little bit more subtle? Here's what we're going to do. We're going to take the output from the AD envelope. We're going to go into attenuator 1, and then we're going to take that into, where did we have it? Into the filter, right? Yeah. So now, no, it wasn't into the filter. It was into the frequency modulation. So now what's going to happen is this, I can set it wherever I want. It doesn't matter. It's not going to do anything because how much of this processes into the frequency modulation is now affected by the attenuator 1 knob. At least that's how it's supposed to be working. There we go. That's kind of fun. I like to put a little bit of brute factor on it. Now, just for kicks and giggles, I'm going to take VCO2. Okay. Put a little frequency modulation on it. Oh, I also switched it to a sine wave now. So now VCO2 is a sine wave. It is tuned 2 octaves below VCO1. And I'm using just a little bit of frequency modulation on it. Remember this patch nonsense we did over here, which isn't actually nonsense. It's not that technical. So that's kind of fun. So that's one fun little patch I can do with it. And see, it only took me about 15 minutes, which, you know, seems like a long time to make a sound, but whenever you're talking about experimenting, like time is sort of a, doesn't matter. It's a moot point. You're experimenting, you're creating, you're coming up with something cool, right?